Let's begin, though, with that first topic I mentioned. Of course, Labor Day weekend is just a couple of days away. Many will be having backyard barbecues, hanging by the pool, maybe heading to the lake, kind of that final hurrah of summer. And for many, that includes at least the option to drink alcohol. But have you ever thought about how alcohol may be impacting your gut health? I'm joined once again here on Evening Plus by Shanti Appello, registered dietitian and health and wellness spokesperson at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Shanti, thanks so much for joining us once again to talk about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, of course, many of us are very familiar with how alcohol can make you feel the next day in a variety of ways. But when we're talking about the gut specifically and some potential disruption that may happen, what are we talking about there? Why does that happen? Kind of give us the overlay.
Yeah, so even healthy digestive systems can experience issues when we drink alcohol. Basically, what happens is that the gut clashes with the microbiome, and the microbiome is something that resides in the colon and the rectum, basically our whole digestive system, and it's kind of a mix of bacteria, fungus, viruses, and when it's in a good balance, it's great because we know that our gut influences things like our mood. It has a really big kind of effect on our serotonin production, the happiness neurotransmitter. And so there's a lot of important things that has to do with the gut. So basically what happens is we consume alcohol and our body wants to get rid of it because it is toxic. And in that way, it can negatively kind of disrupt the gut microbiome and lead to a host of issues.
Yeah, so the gut microbiome is kind of the overarching kind of atmosphere going throughout the body that you want to keep happy in order to keep other things happy. And so when you disrupt the microbiome, what happens there? Maybe it's with alcohol, maybe it's with something else. What happens as a result of kind of disrupting that atmosphere in the body?
Yeah, so part of the roles of the gut microbiome is to defend our body against germs and toxins. It helps regulate inflammation and our metabolism. It also helps support the immune system, prevents chronic illness, all those things. And so whenever we throw kind of a wrench into that, it can negatively affect all of those systems. I think inflammation is a really big component. So you may notice some differences in your mood, your skin, how you feel overall. And then, of course, there's some more kind of immediate effects with alcohol whenever your body's trying to get rid of it, especially if you've had excess. So vomiting and diarrhea are parts of that. I think something too that's really important to notice is that there's so many different levels of how much people drink and how it affects people. So, for example, if someone is a heavy alcohol user, it can definitely interrupt the ability for our body to absorb vitamins and minerals. And the reason for that is because our body's always going to prioritize the breakdown of alcohol. And so it can prevent it from absorbing things like thiamine, folate, vitamin C, a lot of kind of nutrients that are involved with memory and mood regulation, healing wounds, and things like that.
Gotcha. So alcohol kind of jumps the list as far as what's going to be digested and absorbed and, moved out of you. Whereas if you're, even if you're eating fruits and vegetables, they're kind of going to be put on the back burner, at least for a short time. Okay. And so obviously we have a holiday weekend coming up. For many people that may include alcohol. Maybe it doesn't. But for those who it does, are we saying here, don't drink at all? Or, what's kind of the advice? What's kind of the scale that we're talking about as far as, okay, maybe you're going to partake a little bit, but any kind of guidelines for people to maybe keep that microbiome as happy as possible in moderation?
Yeah, so of course, avoiding alcohol completely is the best for health. But the guidelines that are out there is for men to limit themselves to 2 drinks, women to limit themselves to 1 drink. And I think it can go beyond just what you're deciding to do yourself, but just setting a culture around the fact that we're not pushing alcohol on people. I think oftentimes in social situations, we may be like, well, you just have one, just have one. And so just being careful about how we frame alcohol, also making the healthy choice the easy choice. So if you have some alcohol that's available that looks really exciting, making mocktails just as easy of an option to make sure that they're tasty. They're just as fun to drink.
Yeah, and when we're talking about people who may suffer from IBS, Crohn's disease, other sorts of syndromes that make it difficult to have a healthy gut, just in general, how does this play into that? I'm sure it kind of complicates matters.
Yeah, so it does kind of exacerbate any issues that already exist. So there's no link between IBD, for example, and drinking alcohol, but we understand that alcohol can promote inflammation in the body, and in that way, it can kind of disrupt those protective layers in the gut and then cause flare-ups. And so it can make, the abdominal cramping, the diarrhea, the pain, the weight loss worse. That's oftentimes associated with those. I think too, something that more people may deal with is, GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease. Some people may be triggered by acidic foods, but alcohol is a really big trigger for that as well. So what happens is the alcohol relaxes the lower esophageal sphincter, and that allows that stomach acid to flow back into the esophagus. Not going to lead to a good night's sleep, and it can definitely be uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And as far, I feel like gut health in general is a very hot topic right now. What can I be doing to, improve my gut health? What do I need to be eating? Obviously, in the context of kind of recovery after drinking, that's one thing. But in order to just have that healthy microbiome, what kinds of things can folks be doing, to keep that part of the body in good shape?
Yeah. Always be hydrating and always be getting good sleep and rest. Those are key factors. But in the world of eating, we should be focusing on prebiotics. So these are going to feed the beneficial gut bacteria. So they're going to be things like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas are a great source, oats and apples as well. And then probiotics, those are going to be those live beneficial bacteria. We want to read our nutrition labels to make sure we see the LAC label on that, especially for our yogurt, to make sure it does have live and active cultures. Also things like sauerkraut, kimchi, and miso, those are going to be oftentimes probiotic rich. So really repopulating our gut with the healthy bacteria. And then finally, just limiting ultra processed foods is a huge deal here, because ultra processed foods can contribute to inflammation and kind of drive down that balance of good and bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you kind of touched on it in the very beginning of our interview, but as far as, achieving a healthy gut microbiome, having your gut work well, what can that ultimately do, for your body overall that's going to make you feel good?
Yeah, so I mentioned, 90 to 95% of our body's serotonin is actually produced in the gut. We also have this gut brain axis, which is basically a communication that links our emotional centers of the brain to the gut. And so these two are always communicating. So I think overall we can just feel great in our headspace, the better we take care of our gut. And then, of course, all the things digestive wise is going to make you feel a lot better. And that's whether you deal with maybe more on the constipation or the diarrhea end. Just having a healthy gut is going to help promote a healthy digestive system.
Definitely. Shanti, thank you so much for joining us once again. We appreciate your expertise, some good things for people to be thinking about, into the holiday weekend, but also any weekend overall as we, just continue through the rest of the year. Thanks so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.